Today I'm going to be making the Serata dress from Itch to Stitch in this gorge fabric that I got gifted from Raystitch. It's their Hawk Dawn fabric. I've made the Serata before, so let's see how it turns out in this amazing fabric. So the first thing we've got to do is prepare the facings for round the neckband. And I'm going to do this a different way this time. It's a way that I knew about but forgot about, and somebody kindly reminded me. So if it was you who reminded me how to do this clever technique for enclosing the edge of your facings, thank you. I'm going to do it and then I'll explain how I've done it, if that makes sense. So I'll see you in a minute. So what I've done is, this is what it looks like now. So this is the front facing, and it's got its interfacing on the back, but we've got a nice neat edge to it, so I haven't got to do any pesky overlocking, which I'm trying not to do to finish that outside edge. And it's not bulky either. So how have I done this? Well, I cut out my pattern piece in fabric and in interfacing, and then I put them right sides together, so the glue side of the interfacing facing outwards. Then I pinned them together and I sewed a narrow 1/4 inch seam all the way round this outside edge, not the inside, the large outside edge. Then flipped it the right way round with the glue facing the wrong side of the fabric, made sure that I'd got a nice neat edge along the outside, got the iron on it, pressed it, and voila, we've got a nice neat finish on that facing. And I've also done it with the back facing. So now I'm going to go back to the instructions, which means we're going to attach these two together and then attach it to the neckline. But before we do that, we've got to stay stitch around all the curves. So round the sleeves, down the V, and around the back of the bodice. So this is where we're up to. I'm really pleased with how the necklines turned out, and I'll just explain the little steps that I've done to get what I consider to be a couture, or Christine style couture finish. So I attached the shoulder seams on the front and back bodice, and I've done those with French seams. I already explained how I'd attached the interfacing on, so that's what you end up with on the inside, very nice and neat. When I've attached the facing then to the bodice, there's a few little things I've done to just make it lie nicely, in my opinion. So when I'm sewing it down, I stitch it down at 2.5 all the way around, and then when you get to where the V is at the front, I drop it down to 1.5 stitch length, stitch down to the V, then I stitch 2 or 3 little stitches horizontally across. I don't do a really sharp V. Then carry on for about 1 inch the other side in 1.5, then go back up to 2.5, sew it all the way round. So then, before I press it, obviously we understitch it, but before I understitch it, I trim my seam allowance down, I grade the seam allowance, so the side piece without the interfacing gets graded to half its width. Then I understitch, and then on this pattern you then top stitch all around the edge of the facing, which I like. When I did my last one, I did that with hand stitching and I wasn't 100% happy with the results, so I've gone back to a machine stitch, and that's where we're up to so far. So what next? Well, because I'm doing the sleeveless version with the ruffles for a change, last time I did the flutter sleeve, we're doing the ruffles this time, and I'm doing French seams. The next thing is to sew the side seams together, and then we're going to construct the ruffles. So I've done my ruffles, and I've done these a little bit different as well. I'm like Rachel from Stitched Up, to be honest. I have a thing about ruffles being double-sided and not seeing the nasty back of the fabric. So instead of cutting 2 of each ruffle out, I've cut 4 of them, and I've ignored the pattern. So my ruffles are all double-sided. I've done my gathering stitches along the edge, so now it's time to fit the ruffles to the bodice. So this is where we're up to. It's all starting to come together now. I've got my double ruffles on, and they're double-sided, as I said earlier, because if the gust of wind gets under them, you're not going to see that side of the fabric, you're going to see that side. So the last thing I have to do to finish these sleeves off is put bias binding all the way around the armholes. Now the way I do this is I sew it on the machine the first side, and then when you fold it over and you do the inside, I hand stitch it. So I'll get the binding sewn on the machine, and then I'll do the hand stitching later on, because my sewing space gets mad hot in the afternoon. So I'm going to save some hand stitching to do in the shade this afternoon. So let's get the band. Next up is the waistband, and I've got the pattern piece here to show you. On either end there are little notches that you need to make sure you've got marked on your waistband pieces, because that's where you're going to sew the channels for all the elastic. Now I'm going to go rogue again here. I learnt this from last time, and to try and stop my elastic from twisting, because there are 3 channels of narrow elastic in this, instead of threading the elastic all the way round and then securing it at one side, I'm just going to do them the front and the back separate, and then attach the front and the back of the waistband together. So the instructions tell you to sew one end together. I'm not doing that. I'm going rogue, and instead of having 3 strips of elastic, I'll have 6. Well, my sewing space predictably is like being in an oven now, so that's the sewing stop for today. So I'll just do a little recap of where I'm up to with the Sorata dress. All the bodice is complete. How cute does that look? So I'm happy with the neckband, and we've got the double ruffles on it, looking very cute indeed. Just need to do the hand stitching of the binding inside, which I'll do in the shade this afternoon. The waistband is also on, and on the inside where the little holes are on one side to thread the elastic through, I've done the same on both sides so that I can do separate elastic channels for the front and separate ones for the back, just to hopefully stop that elastic from twisting round. Fingers crossed. So what I need to decide now is about the skirt. Pockets or no pockets. The last one I made, I did put pockets in, but don't really use them, so do I leave them off? Let me know what you would do with the Sorata dress. Do I put pockets in or do I leave them out? So I've just got the skirt to do and the big ruffle on the bottom and turn it up, but as I said, sewing space is like a cauldron, so I'm out of there for the day now. I'll get that finished tomorrow and I will show you that tomorrow when we will do next week's makes and plans. So I hope you're managing to get some sewing in with the heat if you're in the UK, and I will see you all tomorrow for some more sewing fun. Bye guys.